Support in Star Wars Squadrons is a bit of a forgotten class. In our previous video we made on the support classes as a whole, we mentioned that it was a very selfless way of playing, but also extremely vital and heavily underplayed. So if you want to run through that video first before this one, link to that in the top right corner or in the pinned comment below. As of today, I've successfully put in over 24 hours into support. So in today's video, I'll be going through a build that I frequently use on both Rebel and Imperial factions for support. This is what I call for agile utility support, which offers the best options to keep your allies alive, whilst also allowing you to be a little bit offensive. But before I jump into it, my question of the day to all of you is, what is your favourite build to use in Star Wars Squadrons? Let me know your classes and builds you like to run in the comments down below. But for now, on with the video. Okay, let's go over the components. I run stock laser cannons, supply droid, tactical shield, particle burst, light hull, standard deflector and slam engines. So let's break these down one by one. Standard laser cannon is my go-to for both Rebel and Imperial factions. Unfortunately, support has a very small amount of choices in firepower. Besides the standard, you have guided variation and the iron cannon. I prefer the standard out of all three because it's the highest DPS against enemies, raiders and subsystems when you've mastered your accuracy. For newer players, I recommend the guided laser cannon to help you land your shots as you're training your accuracy. However, expect to deal significantly less damage to players and objectives. Iron cannons are very situational, as they can tear down shields very fast, but nothing more than that. Utility support generally needs to steer clear from flagships and only do runs against frigates when they are supporting a bomber or fighter, which is why I'm not overly fond of the component due to its niche demands it requires in order to excel. Next up, I run Supply Droid. This is simply to hammer home the importance of utility. The component is insanely effective in all of its uses, even when all allies are at full health. One strategy we ran in Operation Aces esports tournament was me following my bomber and constantly resupplying them with bombs to allow the bomber to make consecutive runs on a frigate or flagship without even having to return to our side of the map. This strategy with supply droids allowed Captain Shaq from XP Gamers to deal almost 1 million capital damage total in all the games that we played. For the next auxiliary, I ran the tactical shield. This is a second and final component that is really required for the utility support build that I run. Not only are you able to heal players, you're able to bolster them with additional shields. This is doubly effective when playing as Empire 2, as all the offensive classes lack shielding. But you can still overshield Rebel players, still making them effective on that faction too. One thing I try to take note of is when an ally is attempting to make it back to our frigates when being chased. We've secured many kills by simply helping the ally for overextending enemy is chasing go from 20% hull remaining to full hull and shields immediately, putting that enemy in a really bad position and in need to escape. Sometimes they're just dumb and still chase to their death, securing nothing. Tactical shields also lock onto allies from 2,000 meters away, far more than the 900 meter range supply droids has, meaning that I can help allies in danger all the way from the other side of the map. You can also target players who are very far from your frontal vision also, so keep an eye on the ally dots on the side of your monitor to see if you can fire a shield to players that are almost 90 degrees either side of you. You'll know when you can when there is a green circle around those white dots. Next up is Countermeasures. I usually run Particle Burst. This is more of a decision based on meta. Many players are running TIE bombers for their insane hull health. One of the components they can run is a multi-lock missile, which can fire up to 3 missiles at you at once, and with support having a real lackluster choice in countermeasures, it forces me to run Particle Burst. While Sensor Jammer can disable them all, it only has one capacity and its cooldown is 26 seconds, which makes it absolutely useless in self-survival. Good players will hound down support ships first, and sensor jammers is not going to always be there to protect you. Seeker warheads are great for ammo capacity and being able to use them at long distances even whilst turning, but can only be able to take down a maximum of 2 targets, which is sometimes not enough. Plus, this 12-second cooldown means you have to be out of combat for longer after being attacked. Particle Burst solves all these issues by successfully destroying all missiles and mines and only being on a 9-second cooldown. The limitations are that they need to be used when the missile is closer and when you've straightened up, which can simply be overcome with skill. If you're a new player, you can perhaps run Seeker warheads, especially as the Empire, since the Y-Wing isn't nearly as strong as the TIE Bomber, and the class is used less for that reason. For hull, I actually run the light hull for both factions. This is due to the fact that support is insanely slow and sluggish to control. Acceleration and maneuverability is extremely precious, since you have so little of it to start with. Light hull gives you back some of that control and help you weave through the environment when being under attack. U-Wings and TIE Reapers are very large ships and can be fired upon easily, meaning you cannot afford to be slow. After extensive use of both high health and low speeds, with low health and high speeds with support, I can safely say there is a higher skill ceiling to achieve with the latter, which can allow you to be more offensive and outplay enemies in movement when being under fire, something that will make you live longer than any reinforced hull could. As for shields, I run the standard deflector. Many of the other choices for shields and support don't feel super effective. However, I do experience issues with running out of firepower frequently, so I may try out the resonant shield, which lowers your max shields but increases your laser charge rate when you're over shielded. However, I only recommend this type of shield if you've played a significant amount of squadrons. If not, stick with the standard shielding. Next up is engines. I run Slam Engine. Again, not many choices here for support, but Slam Engine allows me to passively gain boost over time, providing there is any amount of energy located into my engines. People who run basic power management will have no issues with this. That system always keeps energy in engines, lasers and shields at all times. People who run detailed, however, this will be an extra oversight you'll need to look at to ensure that you're at least putting 2 spots of power into your engines, so keep an eye on that. The reason I sacrifice some max speed is simply because I'm not in the front lines all the time. Many times you'll see me in the back, nearer my flagship, supporting allies from afar. I'm almost always at full boost with these engines, and it allows easier getaways most of the time. It does mean you are on the defensive a little bit longer, but there is plenty for you to do for allies when you are. So, the verdict. Utility support is a very obvious build to go with. It rewards newer players immediately, so if you're not very good at the game, you'll likely provide way more help to your team with this class and build than any other class. You can play stupidly safe and still be rewarded, and if you run the standard laser cannon and feel up to it, you can go toe to toe with some enemies also. I run a lot of TIE Fighter and X-Wing to help with my accuracy when under pressure, and that training translates really well into my support also. Regarding objectives, as a nimble utility support, I think it's fine to focus the radar when you're on the defensive, but frigates and flagships are too much of a risk with your low speed and large hitbox. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, support is a selfless class to play. Its gameplay is safe, so much so that some might consider it boring. When you're carrying the team and allies, people will likely cheer the interceptors and bombers instead. The class will kill your KD score, and with no statistics showing how much you've healed or shielded until the game ends, it's hard for allies to know just how much you're providing to the team. I'm lucky enough to play the game mostly with friends on Discord, meaning that they do feel the weight of my success because we're able to communicate. When you're playing the game alone, you're not getting any of that verbal feedback, and thus the gameplay experience can feel hollow. Finally, I'll let you in on a little secret. I never wanted to play support. Upon hearing the game, I wanted to play interceptor with high stealth, low health builds that rewarded insanely high skill ceilings. But with the team of people I was playing with, another one of those builds in the team wouldn't have been helpful. So I stuck with support, a class that no one wanted to play. And honestly, the skill ceiling is just as high. The more I play, the more I notice my KD actually starting to become positive as I start being more offensive. I'm doing objective damage against raiders, I'm taking out AI for morale, I'm healing allies, I'm killing enemies. Support requires you to do everything and be better than everyone else, because you're the one with the big hitbox with low speed, low health, low maneuverability and low firepower. So in short, my nimble utility support build offers immediate usefulness to your team if you're just starting out, but requires weeks if not months of training to become a master at it. And at the end of it, you'll be able to easily pick up any class afterward. But that does lead me to the end of the video. Is the nimble utility support something you want to try out, or are you going to stick with other classes? Honestly, I wouldn't blame you, especially if you're playing alone or off comms. Also, don't forget our question of the day, which is, what is your favourite build to use in Star Wars Squadrons? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I read all of them and try to get back to some of you too. But other than that, I've been Charlie, you've been watching EcksToo, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.